Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
Let's do it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. Truth, Beer, and Podsequences is the podcast where my co-host and I listen to all of the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts from the previous week. We get together, we give our version of those podcasts, and hopefully there aren't too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows. So far, so good, especially since most of them were here last week for our live episode, and everything went well. So hopefully you got a chance to listen to that. If you haven't, please go and listen to the live episode. It was a ton of fun, and look forward to seeing everybody when we do something like that again. I am going to introduce the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I am Julia, and I like to drink beer, and on Pie Day, I don't eat cherry pie with no hands, but I do eat pizza pie.
Okay.
I do enjoy that.
Sounds good. And I am Marco. I'm one of the brewers here locally, also a bartender. Big shout out to our podcast host, it's BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. We got producer Kenny over here. Come out to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. A lot of things new on the board from last week, so you want to get out here. They have Rally Cap from Sonder on the slow pour tap.
Oh, and it's normally bussin', but on slow pour it is bussin', no cap, no question.
Shoo!
Shoo shoo!
All right, and come on out here also because a certain company, you know who I'm talking about, Julia, make sure to keep this place fresh and clean.
I was parked next to them at the gas station while I was filling my tank before coming in here today.
Nice. Did you put a Truth Beer Pod sticker on there or something?
Oh, I should have. Well, he was in the driver's seat.
Mad.
I thought that might have been a faux pas. Yeah, they wouldn't have come back to BC's to clean the place up if I would have done that. So I did not, but maybe I can, instead of sticking it to the van, stick it in the window, with the backing still on it,
gotcha.
to where it's,
so that they can take it with them.
Exactly.
Put it on their blocks, frozen freezer at home.
Because they all have blocks freezers at home.
They all have a blocks freezer at home.
So in addition, my bad.
No, go ahead.
No, in addition to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery being our gracious host, we have some sponsors this week. So huge shout out to our sponsors who have bought us the pints of beer that are sitting in front of us, as well as an additional pint of beer. Huge shout out to my mom, who is a multiple time supporter of the show. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you listening to this absolute nonsense that you probably don't understand, but you listen to anyway because I'm your favorite daughter. We'll go with that. And Mitch, the one and only Mitch. Thank you so much for listening to us, for supporting us. Absolutely love everything that you're doing in your new line of work. It's amazing. I love your Instagram feed. If you know Mitch, you know how to find him online. I'm not going to throw his stuff out there in case he doesn't want to be super publicly acknowledged for it. But Coal Mine Records, he is doing phenomenal stuff for what that local record company is putting out. And a huge shout out to everyone from the podcast community that came out last week to watch us do our very first live broadcast from BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. We literally would not be here without you, so just wanted to thank you again for showing up and for having a good time with us.
Really, really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, we'll do it again at some point. And just follow us on social media. How do they do that, Julia?
They can go to @TruthBeerPod on all of the social media platforms. If they want to email us instead to say, hey, what are you guys up to? Our email address is truthbeerpod@gmail.com. And if you want to be super awesome like Mitch and Mom, you can go to truthbeerpod.com. There is a big blue support us link there, and you can throw a couple bucks our way for either equipment upgrades or beers or more stickers or whatever we need to do in order to continue to grow our show for you.
Yep.
And if you like the music that we put in our show, please visit GnomeCreative.com. Check out the Gnarly Gnome on all the social medias for any content need that you may have, mostly photography, but if you have some video or audio needs, he's more than happy to step in and help as well.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. I can't really echo that enough really to be able to say support the people that help us and support us. So no good beer podcast would be a good beer podcast if it didn't have beer.
That's true.
Julia, what are you drinking?
I actually started off with the slow pour rally cap from Sonder, but I have since moved on, and what I have in my glass in front of me right now is Humboldt from HighGrain Brewing. It is a blonde stout. It is very heavy on the chocolate, more so than the coffee flavor, but it is still that nice, light, creamy blonde stout that everyone knows and loves. I am really enjoying it.
All right.
What about you, Marco? What do you have in your BC's Bottle Lodge Mug Club member mug?
That's right. I did have, as did you, a slow pour rally cap, which I'm probably going to have at some point again tonight.
Same.
But right now, I am having Hustle, an IPA, American IPA, 6% from Rhinegeist.
Very nice. It is legit. It's actually baseball season, or it will be in a couple short weeks.
Yeah.
They have gotten off of their asses and decided, the people want their baseball. Let's just go ahead and come to agreements. And I feel like Rally Cap and Hustle are perfect beers to celebrate the return of the baseball season.
Yeah, Rally Cap, Hustle. What other baseball beers just come off the top of your head? Locally.
In the Mitt. I'm just making that up.
In the Mitt.
In the Mitt. That did not sound.
In the Mitt.
Maybe that's a different sport I'm thinking of. I don't know. I just kind of hit a mental block with that one.
In the Mitt. All right.
So, Marco, to get back on track a little bit.
Don't kick me in the mitt.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. I need you back here next week.
All right, thank you.
This is a podcast about podcasts.
That's right.
Specifically, Cincinnati Craft Beer podcast. Did you listen to any of those last week?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah. Big week.
It was a huge week for the Cincinnati Craft Beer podcast, so we have a lot to go through tonight. We have a grand total of, I'll just list them out. We have Cincy Brewcast.
Okay.
Did you get that one?
Welcome back. Yes.
Welcome back, Gnome. We also have Shift Beers. How about that one?
Yep. Listen to that one.
And Sonder Stories. You good with that one? That one dropped at least
to second week in a row.
Yeah. That one hit my podcatcher a little bit earlier than they normally do. So, Danny, thank you. Definitely appreciate. Again, we would always cover it. It would just be the week after it comes out. Now we can do it the same week so that it's a little more timely. So we have 3 podcasts to cover. I think what we're going to do, we talked in our pre-production meeting about this a bit. I think we're going to go over Cincy Brewcast and Sonder Stories first.
Yes.
And round out the evening with Shift Beers.
That's right.
All right. Well, we both have pretty full glasses, so I think that we're okay to jump right in. Did you want to start with Sonder Stories or Cincy Brewcast?
Sonder Stories.
Sonder Stories? All right. This was chapter 89, Hanging with the Gnome. It was the normal misfit cast of characters, Danny, Chad, and Justin, and the gnarly gnome was their guest. I am very proud of them for saying that they're back on track for being on schedule with the podcast.
Yeah. I am also glad to see the episodes come out for second week in a row, and according to what they said in the show, fast forward all the way to the end, Danny says they've got shows scheduled and things like that, and I know things happen and whatnot, but glad to see they're back at it 2 weeks in a row. That's awesome. Look forward to listening to whatever the content is next week.
Yes. So you know that I always have to find an issue with any of the podcasts that we cover.
It's kind of a thing of ours.
The issue that I had with Sonder Stories is not Sonder Stories, but I guess Sonder as a brewery.
Saunders?
The Sonders, yes, with an S. Very important to have the S at the end of Sonders, just like the Krogers and the Walmarts. Beers, no, that works.
Well,
that one actually
work. That works.
Yeah, because we're having beers. Sonder decided that Cleveland was a better place to be this past weekend, or not this past weekend, but the first weekend in March. They thought that Cleveland was a better place to be than Bachfest. Why? What is I understand there was a beer festival up there, and I'm sure that Sonder wanted to represent, which is
I think
awesome. But
the way that Justin talked about it, it was almost as if the Ohio Craft Brewers Association asked them to be there. Like as if they were ambassadors, like as if they were ambassadors from the great city of Cincinnati to represent all of the goodness that is being poured here in Cincinnati.
But that also raises another question. They were up there for the Winter Warmer Fest.
I know.
It's freaking March.
Right.
Why is the Winter Warmer Fest
because
the
it's
first
warmer
weekend
than
in
winter.
March? Well,
it's warmer than winter. It's like 70 degrees outside right now, Julia.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. I was going to say, come on, have the Winter Warmer Fest
like in December.
December or even
when everybody's
November,
winter warmers are fresh.
Yes. Instead, you wait until they're all hitting their...
Coming out to BC's Bottle Lodge, Montgomery, number 4, you have Great Lakes Christmas Sale on tap. Ladies and gentlemen, our producer Kenny will pour you a nice pint of Christmas ale.
I'm sure that'll still be there for Christmas in July.
Oh, it's good. Great idea. It's a great idea.
So they talked about one of Sonder's new-ish, I suppose, full-on company holidays as well. Toby Day.
Oh, yeah,
Toby Day is the day that they package, and if you know Toby, you know Toby. If you don't know Toby, listen to the episode and you will know exactly what beer Toby is.
Figure it out.
But yeah, they said that it is pretty much an official company holiday now. Like whenever they package that beer, they kick all the patrons out at between 1 and 2 p.m. They let the lunch crowd kind of come in, get their food, get their lunch beers, and then they say, you need to leave. We've got to push down some pack techs and drink some low fills, which I got to say, that's a hell of a company perk right there.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, right? Drinking low fills is a part of the gig. With you get into this line of work because you love you love in some way something that goes into beer, and the cast of characters that we have in the Cincinnati podcast community is a perfect example, right?
It really is. Yeah.
They took that. They weren't podcasters first necessarily. They were enthusiasts of craft beer, right?
And they wanted to talk about that craft beer to more people than just their coworkers and their friends who said, we get it, you're in the beer industry. Can you just can we talk about something else like sports? Oh wait, that's part of your show as well.
Yeah, sports.
Sports ball.
Sports ball.
The Sonder Sports
Danny
Ball
and the
show.
Sports Ball show.
One of the not joking, one of the cool things that I did like about this episode was it wasn't a very extensive part of the conversation, but they did go into for a few minutes the differences in beer cultures in the different cities, Cleveland versus Cincinnati, since that's the most recent place that the Sonder team has been. And I think it's really, really neat to see how, even though these other cities have their own beer culture, their own beer community, Cincinnati is still so much more special and more, I guess, congealed as all the different breweries come together than other cities that may have had breweries for longer than Cincinnati has, such as Cleveland with Great Lakes.
Yes, but they failed to mention Boston beer.
They did.
And Boston beer's been a legacy brand that has stood out for making quality product that was something that right from the get-go that the company knew that they had something special in.
Sure.
And then Sam Adams also plays a part in the Cincinnati craft beer community. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Rivertown really formed because the owner won the homebrew competition
at Sam. You're right. At Sam Adams. Boston Beer. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
for Boston Beer.
Absolutely.
And so those touch points for Boston Beer go out throughout the community. Urban Artifact has collaborated with Boston Beer. Boston Beer is one of the only tap rooms, or the only tap room outside of Boston is here in Cincinnati.
Right.
Jim Cook's from Cincinnati, and so that's a legacy brand. But to go from Boston Beer to whoever's going to be next as far as timeline, that is still around. I mean, you're talking about Mount Carmel. Mm-hmm. And then from Mount Carmel, I mean, Listerman, it just sort of cascades from there.
Right.
I mean, Cellar Dwellers, 10 years old plus, 10 years plus. We turned 10 years in February.
It's kind of like a root system to where you have, like, the trunk, which I'll say for Cincinnati, Sam Adams or River, kind of depending on how, I mean, it's really Sam Adams, Boston Beer Company, but that spreads or that, branches off into, we'll just say Rivertown and, Mount Carmel, Cellar Dweller being as they are, Listerman. And then from there, you get even more roots and more roots and more roots.
Right.
And before you know it, it's just an absolute explosion of breweries everywhere. It's wonderful.
And still breweries in planning. I'm excited for whatever is to come. And also, not just what's to come from the new breweries, but also all of the breweries really settling in and really digging into their own vibe, their own culture, and then creating, we have 0.5s that talk about, big beer events and creating the things that make them stand out to themselves. Right. And, when you think about, since this is Sonder Stories, when you think about Sonder, you do think about a top-notch, top-quality product. You think about a fun space that has a huge outdoor space, a space that in the past few years has leaned into hosting big beer events. If there is ever going to be an execution, a start of a Bachfest that is outside of Cincinnati, why wouldn't it be Sonder? Like little satellite
Bachfest, absolutely.
Why wouldn't it be Sonder? They have a great Bach beer, and they have plenty of space to do it.
Right, or if when your absolute favorite beer style, the Schwarzbier, when that festival starts up, Marco can you guys hear him rolling his eyes? Because I can hear it through the headphones right now.
I think it's like the most hipster of hipster, like segmented, smallest hipster of thing. No, I like this thing that's kind of okay, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. It's okay.
We won't spend too much time on it, but there is something that I wanted to touch on for
like
Schwarzbier.
Schwarzbier. I'm like, okay, all right.
Hey, it's better than a Cascadian Dark Ale.
Yeah, they can go to hell with that.
One tiny thing that I do want to touch on for Schwarzbier, and then we'll move on, I promise.
Yeah.
Because I know it is not your favorite subject, is when
I'm not going to turn it down. If all you have on tap is Schwarzbier,
sure.
I'll drink it.
It's just
but
not
if you have anything else, I'll drink that.
So, in part of the conversation about that, they went over, as they're going to be doing quarterly, their top 5 lists, or top 5 Sonder beers of all time, which, depending on how many qualifiers you add on to it, changes from quarter to quarter.
Right.
Schwarzbier is one that, that Justin said, hey, if this isn't on my top 5 every single time, you need to hit me. But then they kind of went to a slight segue about how Justin has small hands and small arms, like a T-Rex.
Yeah, like a T-Rex.
So I'm wondering if maybe for next, and I'll just say Schwarzbier season, even though that's not a thing yet, they should have a special variant for Justin and his arms called the Schwarzbier. All right, that was a terrible joke, but I had it written down. I really wanted to use it. They talked about Oktoberfest for a bit because of the different
because it's such a better beer.
And talking about
a better
beer
festival
and
environment.
Beers, well, the main thing that I got out of the brief part of the conversation about Oktoberfest, which also blended into 2 Bach beers and the like, Gnome's poking everything.
Yeah, he's just poking everything.
He's just poking all the things all the time. And
he's just showing up.
I think it's
ready to poke.
It may be a problem. Like, I don't know if
I don't know.
He said that he tried to poke wine. I mean,
no, he didn't try. He did.
He did, yes. Well, he did, but it didn't really
put his poker in some wine.
He
carries it with him. He carries a camp stove with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
there may need to be an intervention, not before I try one of these pokered beers, but
camp stove and a poker with him.
Once I try one of these, then we need to host an intervention and be like, hey, we appreciate what you're doing, but you got to stop poking stuff because it's getting a little out of control.
He just shows up.
He just shows up, hey, guys, like holding this red hot piece of metal.
He's
Hey,
in a
guys,
tap room
I'm here.
with a camp stove, and he turns it on.
Oh, my God.
Like in a corner somewhere.
You just...
You know,
Look
like,
at her like, what is this?
what is this guy doing? And then he
Don't worry about it. Don't, you know. I did appreciate the throwback to oh shoot, what's his name from Country Boy, from the Sonder Stories intro. How they were talking about, like, can you use any metal? Can it's probably should be food safe, and then it's, well, if it gets hot enough, it kills everything, and then no one until, you know, if you
what was it?
If you're
it's
worried
not
about
DT. It is. Oh, never mind. It's the guy from Country Boy.
Yeah.
Awesome guest.
But yes, if you are worried about the dirt and the grime on the end of Gnome's poker, don't worry, it's red hot. You've got nothing to worry about. But it was really cool to have Gnome be part of Sonder Stories again. You know, he's been kind of a guest on the show before.
Everybody's show.
He always has an absolutely amazing, you know, point of view for what Sonder's doing, for what they're talking about. He is not the voice of Cincinnati Craft. He is the conduit for Cincinnati Craft, as
and
he wanted
carries
to make
his conduit
sure.
and lights it on fire.
You know, hey, whatever works for him.
I'm here for his content. I'm here for all of it. Be on all the shows. I'll listen to all the shows. It's because he's a very informed guest, and he's been doing this longer than any of us have been doing this, as far as, you know, being behind a mic and talking about Cincy beer. So always love when he's on any sort of content about Cincy beer, because you know, he deserves to be.
Absolutely. Was there really anything else from Sonder Stories? I was kind of sad that Danny locked himself out of his Spotify account, and so we couldn't have like a musical outro to it.
Yeah,
but
it happens.
It does. I mean, I've never locked myself out of my Spotify account, but I'm sure it could happen to anyone. It just happened to Danny.
Right.
Yeah. We could have had some Less Than Jake rocking us out of that episode instead of country.
There's also a couple of nuggets that makes me think that maybe Justin listens to our podcast.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, Justin.
Maybe. Because
let us know in the next episode of Sonder Stories. Like, just drop a little bit of something.
He asked the gnome, do you think our intro is too long?
He did.
And I think there was this podcast out there that at one point said that intro is about as long as Inagata Davida.
Well, and, but to be fair, I don't remember if it was the Super Delivery Brothers, but there was someone on one of their anniversary shows that also talked about the incredible overwhelmingness of country as their song choices and part of that "What Are You Listening To" segment. So I would like to say that it is our doing, that we can take credit for that. But we can't be certain. So, Justin,
he probably doesn't listen.
If you do listen,
he probably doesn't.
Drop another nugget into one of the next episodes of Sonder Stories, and just let us know without letting us know that you hear what we're saying.
Right.
Yeah, and hopefully we're not pissing you off. That's.
Let's have him on the show one day.
Yeah, let's do it. You know where we are. You know where we are every Tuesday. If you don't know, Danny can tell you.
Right.
Show up. We would love to have a beer with you, have you on the show, or even just chill with you and talk to you, hang out with you before or after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Was there anything else you had with Sonder Stories?
I feel like there was. I feel like I had it, and it just escaped my memory.
Was it more about Schwarzbier?
It was probably the trauma of talking about Schwarzbier that had it escape my memory.
Oh, poor Marco. But Nocturnal is so good.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's good. It is good.
Yeah.
It is. But you know... Oh, I know. I remember what it was. Speaking of Nocturnal, because they were saying, you know, about the qualifiers and the top fives. Mm-hmm. They went ahead and established a couple of guidelines.
They did.
Barrel-aged beer cannot be in your quarterly roundup.
So family traditions had to be removed from at least one of the three's top five. Yeah. Yeah.
And they went ahead and said, what was it? The foeder-aged beers count because they're not barrel-aged.
That's kind of splitting hairs a little bit.
Yeah, it's because it's aged in wood, but not barrels.
But aren't
foeders are just giant barrels? But
I was just gonna say, but aren't like most, if not all, barrels?
And don't at me. I understand they're not barrels like bourbon barrels.
Right.
I mean,
right.
But
that's not what we're
But
about,
if you do
I
have
mean.
complaints about the show, where do they send those, Julia?
At Raging Hop on Twitter.
Yeah.
He is our complaint department. He will filter through them. And if there is a legit complaint that we do need to know about,
we will let you know.
Yes, he will let us know,
about
and
what
we
your
will
mama
let
said
you know pretty much.
About whatever it is you're commenting on.
Yeah, and we'll let you know what you can do with that comment.
That's right.
Yeah, because we're having fun.
Yeah.
That's what counts.
And look, if you got a problem with it, get your own microphone.
Or show up here. You can use one of ours, and you can let us know to our faces.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris from Shift Beers isn't afraid to let us know that we suck, so come on down.
Totally fine. Totally okay. And Julia controls the volume on the mics, too, by the way.
Oh, you were on mute the whole time. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, we definitely appreciate everything that, as much as we like to poke fun at all the podcasts, we love
Gnome's
what they're
not the
doing.
only one who pokes.
Yeah. I was actually kind of upset. We and this will kind of bleed into Cincy Brewcast, but
Okay.
Josh and I saw him yesterday, which was Pi Day, March
Oh,
the 14th.
hold on a second. Let me get.
Uh-oh.
I need to pick up this name you dropped.
Oh, yeah,
there it
so,
is.
you know, just hanging out with the gnome like usual, typical Monday.
Yeah,
Now,
typical Monday.
We haven't been up to Fibonacci in quite a while.
I told that to
think
Danny when I saw him here Friday.
that you
When
guys
Danny
don't
was
go
here
past-
Friday, that I hadn't been to Fibonacci in a long time.
Well, then why weren't you there on Monday? Yesterday, whatever day.
I
Days.
had to work
Oh.
at one of my 3 jobs
I'm sorry, but
because I don't count podcasting as a job.
So can I get back to my name drop story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I mean, super stoked to be hanging out with the gnome
Yeah, no
and like
problem.
acting like,
No
yo,
problem.
we're
You
friends.
didn't drop the
This is
name.
cool.
You didn't pick up the name I dropped, but that's fine.
I mean, Danny is in a league of his own.
I know.
He is
why I dropped the
100%.
name.
And we're done with Sonder stories. So, I mean, this bleeds into Cincy Brewcast.
All
That's
right.
why the gnome name drop
Yeah, do it.
works so well.
Yeah, it does. Sure.
My Josh asked him, like, oh, hey, did you bring the poker? And he went, I didn't. So
What the F?
we were so close to trying a gnome poked beer, but so far away. Next time, no.
I mean, this guy.
Next time. I know. I was kind of disappointed.
He
like,
carries it in
yo.
his trunk, except for when he's
Except for when
going to meet you.
Although it was probably still in his trunk along with the camp stove, and he just didn't feel like walking up the street to get it. It could have been that.
And the mug from Taft's.
Oh yeah. I'm getting more and more disappointed by the minute. The more you keep reminding me of this stuff.
Do we need to put a? Are we just going to go right into it, or do we need a stinger or rejoin?
I think we need a little break so that I can pace around BC's a little bit and kind of calm my nerves so that I don't go into talking about Cincy
Julia's
Brewcast
enraged
angry.
right now.
I'm fuming.
I mean, her face is so red.
I was just gonna say my face is
It looks
bright
like the
red.
end of Gnome's poker.
Guys, we are gonna take a really quick break because Mark, it does look like you're getting low on your beer.
Well,
So we're gonna.
it's what I do.
That is what we do here. So
On top of working.
but not here.
Not here.
But not here.
No.
The one place you don't work.
Well, they weren't hiring.
Not wrong. Not wrong. All right, we're gonna take a really quick break, and then we're gonna come back and talk about more gnomeness with Cincy Brewcast.
Okay.
All right, we are back after a short break. Marcus still needs to blow his nose.
True.
It's a shame.
That's true.
There's been a delay in him being able to do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It bothers me. It's bothering me.
Yeah. Well,
Deviated septum and have issues. So
all that. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I've been
would talking
to the men's
about
room.
would talking about Cincy Brewcast make you forget about your nose running for a few minutes?
It's not
Maybe.
running. It's just I got to,
All right. You just need to release the pressure.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
Pressure. Under pressure.
So, Cincy Brewcast, he went down to Taft. It sounded like he went to the Brewporium because
Yeah.
they were talking about the big space behind them, even though they never really clarified. But he
You
said,
never really know, right? Because they're not
Mm-hmm.
they're not broadcast anymore. At years ago, you remember he used to do a live stream.
yes.
As he was recording.
Yes, and every now and then, if you're lucky enough, you would get to like tune in, and
Right.
now it
And there were
just
always
doesn't.
internet issues, and like it would cut in and out and whatever, which I know would frustrate him. Is
Oh,
probably
gosh,
why he
yeah.
doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But they could have been at the library,
It
and
was
we wouldn't
very,
know.
very quiet. Like, I'm sure it was probably before they opened for the day, but there was no background noise whatsoever to give you any indication of the where, the why, the who. Gnome sat down with Dan Shatto, who is one of the he's probably the sales and planning managers at Taft's.
Yep.
For all of the Taft's locations. I wonder if he does stuff for Columbus as well, or if it's just the Cincinnati-based Taft's locations.
I don't know. It wasn't super clear on that. And when Gnome asked him about the other locations going in, he was really top level information where I don't know how much, number one, he could get into, or number two, I don't know how much he deals with that.
Right. Right.
It didn't go that deep. So I'm not sure, right? To answer your question is, we listen to the same thing, and I don't know. I don't know how much to get into or he deals with the other locations. I don't know how much he was allowed to say. I don't know really too much of that, given what he said on the show. Right. Was interesting. Of course, they go into a little bit of his background, right? And which is always nice to hear a little bit of a background of the person that he's having this dialogue with.
Right. I mean, how many people do you know that became assistant brewers because the current brewer at a brewery got a DUI?
Hopefully there's very few of those incidences out there, and certainly everyone, drink responsibly. I
thought that was interesting. Like, hey, so this brewer, this thing happened, so you wanna step in, and it just seemed like an interesting transition.
Yeah,
from his current role to that. I mean, it's not good for him. You know what I mean? Good for him, and opportunity when it knocks.
Sure, it's not that unusual to source talent from within. I mean, from any business, right?
Right.
I mean, from brewing. I mean, to any other sort of business. I mean, that kind of happens. But yeah, that he tells that story, and then he tells a little bit of his past. So he started. That happened at.
Watson
Brothers.
Which I was not familiar with, so that's not, I can't say, I remember that was before I
wasn't familiar with Watson
really
Brothers
into beer
either.
or anything.
But that's the current Firehouse Grill spot.
Yes. Which is why they have brewing equipment and are able to make their own beer.
Well, they had to buy brewing.
I thought they kept.
No.
Okay, I apologize.
So,
I'm crossing my stories.
Yeah.
Then. Okay. And this is getting outside of Cincy Brewcast, but just kind of a slight tangent to clarify.
So the Watson Brothers space is the Firehouse Grill out there in Blue Ash, and the Firehouse Grill did not have a brewery.
Okay.
They just had, a great assortment of beer.
Okay.
Craft beer, full bar, restaurant, and then they decided to lean into becoming a brewery again, and so now they offer, I think it's 4 beers on tap that are produced there. And the Gnome has done a show from Firehouse Grill.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you can go back and listen to that.
I think that where my confusion was coming in is just if you listen to the bits and pieces of the stories of that location, it was kind of brewery restaurant, now brew restaurant. It's everything. So I just assumed that the brewing equipment was there, stayed there, just maybe wasn't used for a bit when it was not a brewery.
Yeah.
So that was my bad for combining stories that didn't need to be combined.
That's no problem.
Right.
See, we do that sometimes.
We do. That's my truth now. Is
Sure.
that the brewing equipment was always there. It was always incredibly well maintained, and
it was like a work of art. It was like art until they decided, you know what, let's put this stuff to use.
And now it's just brewing nothing but High Life.
Right, a clone.
Right? Okay, a clone of High Life.
Clone.
My bad.
Yeah.
Yes. Higher
4 versions of a High Life clone.
One of the things about this episode that I thought was really, really cool is Dan did talk, not super in depth, but he did talk a decent amount about the contract brewing that Taft's does, which I definitely appreciate, because I feel like for whatever reason, and we've talked about this multiple times on multiple episodes of our show, I feel like for some reason contract brewing is seen as like a dirty little secret. to where, in my head, if a brewery, local or otherwise, because the contract brewing that they're doing is not just Cincinnati brands, it's national brands. If you're making a product that's doing well enough to where you don't have the space to do it at your location, or if you're a new company that has a good enough product but you don't have anywhere to make it in volume to sell, I don't understand why contract brewing is a problem. And I do appreciate that Dan did touch on impact brewing, which is the contract brewing side of Taft's.
Yeah.
And didn't really shy away from it. Again, not going into a lot of specifics. You really can't with, agreements, I'm sure, with some of the other companies, but just to at least acknowledge it's something that we do. It's a branch of our business that we are embracing and that we're able to do for other companies in and outside of the greater Cincinnati area.
It's been a really big shift in the perception, and then also the willingness to dive into from both sides of that space, whether it be providing contract brewing or a brewery going into a contract brewing agreement. There was certainly a stigma several years ago that, if you couldn't produce what you were making on your own site with your own equipment, then, from many different aspects, it just wasn't fully accepted or embraced, or I don't even know how to put it.
Right.
But that was the thing. And then from a brewery standpoint that wanted to grow, it was, well, I don't know if, one of the aspects could be, well, I don't know if I want another brewery knowing how to make this particular beer
sure.
or these particular products that we make. But on the same hand, there were so many breweries, craft breweries that it went vertical and had all this production space, and then the market always changed and shifts, and putting that space to use it just makes sense financially.
I agree. Yeah,
it just makes financial sense from their standpoint. If you're going to have a brewing rotation, if you're going to have available capacity, why wouldn't you go ahead and take on the opportunity to help another business grow? And why wouldn't that business, set aside the fact that they're using a different combination of, Citra, Mosaic, and
Galaxy hops, right? Yeah.
No. We use Galaxy.
Yeah, we use Galaxy, yes.
Mosaic, and then Citra. And then so why wouldn't they take that and use that as an opportunity to grow their business? Because it's a huge investment putting in that stainless steel and building up a business. If you can use that, it just seems like. It seems like a great opportunity, as long as
right.
both sides, can come to a mutually understandable concept. It's just like
right.
we just talked about Sonder Stories, and Sonder has a building next to them that's going to be what is it called, a
co-office
space.
They're going to have a separate tap room in there, all kinds of stuff. To me,
that co-office or co-working space, co-working space in a lot of ways is, I can equate that to the contract brewing side. It's like, so you have capacity available.
Mm-hmm.
Why not give that capacity available to somebody? And it's not give, by the way.
Right,
they
right.
are
They're
paying
still
for it.
Sure.
That capacity to another entity that can use that capacity for whatever product they're going to produce. And they did talk also about the products that are coming online, or they're working with their partners, and not all of them are beer.
Right. There are all kinds of products that they're working with other companies, other partners on. And as you just said, incredibly eloquently and very well put, I have no problem with a brewery that has a product. Maybe it is their Pilsner, an IPA that is so popular that they want to keep it on tap, or they want to package it. They don't have the capacity. They find a local company that is able to do that volume for them with their recipe and to their quality standards. As long as they're being honest about it, like, hey, this is still our recipe. This is still our standards. We tested it. We approve all of this. But in order to give it to the public in the volume that the public wants, we had to get outside help. I don't understand why there's anything wrong with that. They should be, just glad that it is such a popular product that they almost need help making it in volume. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't
does.
think there is a problem with it. I really don't, as long as both sides agree that in the end the product is what the product's original intention was to be, right?
Sure.
And
if a product comes out of, and I'll just say contract brewing in a huge general brush, not Taft's, not any of the places that are doing this, just random contracting company A.
right. Julia's contract company.
Julia's contract brewing company. If a brewery comes to me and says, "Hey, we want you to make, 50 barrels of this beer for us because we don't have the capacity to do so. Here is our recipe. Here's what we, need you to make." But then I decide, yeah, this says that you're going to use Simcoe, Mosaic, and Galaxy, but I think Simcoe, Nelson Sauvignon, the Nelson hop.
The Nelson.
We'll just say the Nelson. And
Amarillo.
And Amarillo would be better. Well, that's a problem.
Right.
That should be exactly what the brewery wants it to be. That's the only time that I would have an issue with it, is if they say, "Hey, we're making," and I'm using air quotes, making this beer, but it's actually a completely different recipe than. Oh, okay, they can see it on the live stream.
They can see that.
Oh yeah, I always forget about the cameras that we put up around this place.
Yeah,
they're very well placed. They don't distract me in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, as long as the recipe is being adhered to, and as long as when that product is finished and the brewery tastes it, says, "Yes, this is what we wanted," signs off on it, just put on your can, put on your crowler, or like a little statement like, "This is brewed in agreement with Julia's contracting company."
Right. And I think that's where,
and that's it. Yeah.
I think that's where sometimes there's a little bit of some let's just call it discussion.
It is,
where at the end, yes, we use this, yes, we use these ingredients, and yes, we scaled it to 50 barrels from 5 barrels or from 10 barrels. Is it the same? And
it should be.
Well, it should be.
Well, again, should be. Right.
It should be. And when it's not, what are the steps to go through to make sure that it does turn out that way? It is, with all the software available, with the talent that's out there, there still could be that learning curve, right?
Sure,
and I would expect that.
Sure. Yeah.
But their system is freaking awesome.
I would love to tour the Taft's just brewing facility to go behind those.
Truth Beer Pod everywhere, and let us know if we can tour the facility.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and record a podcast there.
Yes.
We'll have your beer, talk about your beer, promote your beer. You don't need us to do that because you are Taft's, but we would like to do that.
We would like to do that for you.
Yeah, if you're willing to reciprocate with a tour and then maybe a couple of beers.
Kind of trying to circle around back to actual Cincy Brewcast, which, I mean, again, contract brewing has been a conversation in multiple podcasts. Ours, the Gnomes, Sonder Stores, I think, touched on it a tiny bit, just in a very general, broad sense. I think Shift Beers has mentioned it a couple times on their show. It's something that is out there in the beer community. But this episode was really neat. It was nice to get kind of a deeper dive into Taft. They're going to be opening a new tap room in Madisonville. I don't believe they're going to be brewing there. I don't think they really went into that, but I think it's just going to be more of a tap room space rather than tap room brewery. Who knows? Maybe they'll put a small test batch system in there, and you might get some Madisonville exclusives. I'm making this up. Please don't add me, or do add us. I mean, we're just trying to say what we can.
So Madisonville, what is near where they're putting this space in?
The Esquire Theater is in Madisonville. Otto Armletter Park is near the Madisonville area.
Nice.
Yes.
I think the plan is eventually to do some brewing there. At least I think I remember that being said in the show. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Taft's is and has expanded their footprint.
Yes, they have, and they make some really, really good beers, which I believe, and this is going to be me inserting my own truth into one of the things that they talked about near the end of the show, they may introduce slim cans for their beers because, as Gnome put it, slim cans allow more beverages per hand.
Yeah.
Much like bottles. Bottles are a little
And they also
heavy.
talked about non-alcoholic products, but not necessarily non-alcoholic beer.
Correct.
So you may get, because they do cherry wood,
Yeah.
which is a great
Very
beer.
good,
Actually,
yes.
probably my favorite Taft's beer.
Okay.
They are going to do cherry cola with the cherry wood
Like
and
a
cola.
cherry cola?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
So look forward to all of that coming from Taft's. Look for slim cans so you can hold more cans per hand of all of your favorite Taft's beverages.
It's like Johnny Bench
Maybe
with
not.
baseballs.
Exactly, like your every yes. Look at pictures of that. It's pretty freaking ridiculous how many baseballs that man could fit in.
Do you do
His
this on your
dish
work
supply.
time? Because you did that. What was it? The Mormon thing from.
So
What was that?
to anyone from my work that may be listening, no, it is 100% on my own time.
You looked up. What was
I looked
that
up.
called?
So we're not in shift beers yet, but I looked up soaking. I looked that
that's
up
what it's
on
called.
my phone.
That's what it's called.
So my work computer does not have any controversial Google results.
Didn't touch it. I would.
It's yes. I would not. I
Would
would
not look it
strongly
up.
recommend not looking it up. Brian mentioned it last week in shift beers. All I did was
And this
confirm
week.
it.
They
Yeah, they
mentioned it.
did.
They
They
mentioned it
did.
a little bit. We're not there
So
yet.
right,
Let's
right.
not do any spoilers.
I was gonna say we still have.
Let's not
I'm
do any
almost done with
spoilers.
my
You're
beer.
almost done with your
I'm
beer.
gonna need a beer, and
What do you
then
What do you want to wrap up the Cincy Brewcast with? Nothing.
I mean, we already talked a lot about Gnome and poking things and stuff in Sonder stories.
Yeah.
This
I know.
episode
Sorry,
of
my
Cincy
nose.
Brewcast was very. I feel like it was almost like for the. I don't want to say geekier portion of the craft beer community, because this was more on a business, not marketing side, but more of a business side of things that he talked about. Like you said, he talked about, and I say he, Dan Shatto talked about things at a fairly high level on the big picture of what's going on with Taft's. So if you love Taft's, if you enjoy Taft's, going to their different locations, this is definitely a really cool episode to listen to get a better idea of who Taft's is, if you're not familiar with them.
Have you had the pizza at the Brewporium?
Yes, many, many times. They used to do a special on Sundays where you would get a large pizza and a growler for $25. So almost every Sunday, especially during football season, Josh and I would place an order for a growler and a large pizza. I would head down there close to halftime, pick it up, head home.
What would he put in the growler?
Oh, just what we would look up whatever they had. A lot of the Judgment series, their IPA series, like Judgment number 4, Judgment number 9, or some.
I didn't know they did a Judgment series.
They've had a couple variants of it in the past.
So was that a variant of Gavelbanger or a Judgment, a
It
total
was
different
more-
beer?
It was different because it was definitely hazier than Gavelbanger ever
okay.
was. It was definitely never like they have double Gavelbanger every now and then,
That's good.
but that is
so
ridiculously good.
Gavelbanger is
But no,
good
we
too.
would
solid,
kind of-
solid IPA.
Yes, it is. But we would just look for what kind of IPAs they had, because that's something that Josh and I both enjoy. Josh and I still need to clarify to make sure no one gets confused. Really enjoy, so we would just see what IPAs or even pale ales or just something hoppy that they had.
I heard your
Get a
Josh
growler?
likes IPAs.
He does.
I heard he was an IPA guy.
He is very much an IPA guy. Although, when we went to Fibonacci, he actually made the suggestion that he wanted a Maibach. I was very proud of him.
I mean,
And-
what's their IPA? Daisy Cutter?
They have Daisy Cutter. Right now they have Equilibrium on tap, which is their triple. It's a lovely 10%er.
Nice.
It is incredibly good.
Nice.
So freaking good. But yeah, that, and he asked me to look for Country Boys Lager Con Lima and said, hey, if you see that, will you pick some up? Because he has really enjoyed that.
Lima.
And I blame Brewcast and their Cerveza and Wrestling Night for him being turned on to lagers with lime. Quite good.
Delicious.
Yeah. I need more beer.
All right, let's do it, Julie.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to wrap up this evening with the most fun podcast that we get to recap every week.
Ours?
Ours. Yeah, we're going to talk about ours and the things that we talking about. And it's going to be incredibly meta and like a whole just break in the
We're going to do that
space-time
one time
continuum.
on a live show where we actually cover the podcast that we put out the week before.
It'll be fun. So what did you think about what you said?
Right.
Yeah, it'll be great. But no, we're going to take a real quick break and then be back with Shift Beer. So stick around for 2-3 seconds in podcast Landia time, and we'll be right back. All right. We have done it. We have gotten our slow pour rally cap from Sonder Brewings.
Yeah, and
make sure you get the S on there. Very important.
Very important.
Very important.
Also breathing much better now at the moment. Thank you, Julia.
Good.
Actually, I want to take a moment before we go into Shift Beers. I want to thank everybody who is listening for the first time. I also want to thank everybody who's been with us for several episodes or from the beginning. I truly appreciate everyone's listenership. As on the same line as far as appreciation, I know earlier we thanked everybody for being here for the live show.
Sure.
I also want to thank the podcast that we listen to for their support and generosity. Craft Parenting Pod did not put out an episode this week, but sent all of their listeners or suggested all of their listeners to listen to our live show because Joe was on our show.
Yeah, he was. It was so much fun having him here.
It was great.
I can't wait until the next time where we do a show with both of them.
Yep.
Because, my God.
Oh.
That'll be great.
Oh, my gosh. It's going to be...
But yeah, huge shout out to Joe and Caroline, or I'm sorry,
Caroline,
for linking your podcast listeners to our show.
Truly appreciate it.
Really appreciate that. That means a lot to us.
Also, as we're about to get into Shift Beers' drinking segment, they did talk a lot about those who were here and present, what they drank, and the fun that they had here, and I truly appreciate them talking about that.
Yeah.
While they were here, and it's really, again, just reinforcing how cool all of this is. And just like the Gnome said on, I don't remember if it was the main show or if it was in the .5, how cool is it that Cincinnati has a craft beer podcast community.
Yeah,
and
one that's as close as we all are.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
We're gonna do all the things that we talked about. We're gonna get that wine show together one of these days. I'm going on a Brews Traveler trip with Matt Damaris and the Cincy Brews Traveler and
Quick Trip
and Quick Trip.
Do you know who's all going? Is the Wolf going to be going? Is it just going to be?
It's just dudes. And actually, from what Matt told me, Quick Trip's going to join us down there because he's performing at the zoo the day that we're actually heading out.
That's so cool. The Cincinnati Zoo, I'm assuming?
No, the Akron Zoo for special needs animals.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I have heard that having music played for special needs animals really gets them in a better frame of mind. It gets their appetite up so that the lions and tigers who are up there start eating more of the meat that they're provided and all that. That's wonderful.
Way
That's
down
wonderful.
in the jungle deep.
But no, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you for your listenership, and thank you all the podcasts. Let's keep it fun and keep doing it. So,
absolutely.
Shift Beers. Speaking of fun,
Shift Beers, episode 71, Boys and Banquets.
Yeah, so before I listened to this show and before I saw any of the social media and marketing around the show, I bought a 6-pack of Banquet.
Nice.
And so I had some Banquet while I was listening to the show. I had some Banquet while I was listening to or communicating on the weekly pint. And who knows, maybe I'll have a Banquet before we head out of here.
Yeah.
But bad on us for not thinking ahead of time to grab a Banquet.
Instead, both of us got more slow pour Pilsner, slow
Mispronunciations.
I'm telling you, it's a thing. It's one of our like defining moments is at least once per episode I mispronounce something.
Or me. It could be me.
You know, yeah, mostly me, but yes, it either one of us can mispronuncification, anything.
Yeah, when I do it, I try and just move it along.
Yeah.
Just move it on.
I'll tell you though, ever since BC's got the slow pour tap, anything that they have on there, I'm like, I need at least one, if not two or more, while we're up here recording.
Brian said, from Shift Beers, he had the German Irish lager, and he said,
West Side's Gill.
He said that if he'd had that first, that would have been the only beer he had all night.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the only reason that it wasn't the only beer that I had the night of the live show is just because I wanted to try other things. I wanted to have a Bach beer because Danny was there and their episode was about Bach. Sonder stories. Yes.
Or someone gave you a beer with a block in it.
Yes, that happened. And then I ordered one myself with a block. So the Stout.
Did you seriously?
The PBR with the strawberry one in it.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Unless Josh paid for it. Unless Jangle paid for that. I don't know. I didn't even look at my receipt after I closed my tab.
Who does, really?
I don't even know what I paid for and what I didn't.
Who really looks at their receipt at a bar? You just go with it.
I look at the total to put it in my, to make sure everything is balanced up as far as how much money I do or don't have left in my bank account. But I don't look at the line items. No.
It's not like at a restaurant where you're like, excuse me.
Excuse me, sir.
It was 2 for 1 on the appetizer, and you charged me full price.
And are you really going to charge me for an iced coffee like $3 when just a regular coffee is $1? Are you really going to charge me $2 for ice for that coffee?
I'm that guy that will come around and say, yeah, I mean, that's actually the price for the iced coffee.
So that comment is a shout out to Little Dicky's song Save That Money. If you've never listened or seen the video, totally do it.
No, I don't know anything about Little Dicky's.
Well, you need to learn. I don't know. Maybe not. No. But yes, the slow pour tap here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery and at Liberty, they have a slow pour tap up there as well. Always so freaking good. But yeah, once we finish these, we should definitely round out our night with some banquets in honor of the Boys and Banquets episode of Shift Beers. Yeah. Which these banquets were provided to them by the one and only friend to all of the podcast shows, Lee.
Shit. That was Lee?
Yes, that Lee. He actually gave them these banquets when he was first on the show months ago, the same episode that you were on. And
yes.
They just left them in the back of of Jangle's Miata until this past week, where they're like, shit, we really need to drink these before they skunk up, if that's even a thing. Is that even a thing with beer anymore, the way that...
Oh, yeah.
Is it? Okay,
it definitely, yes.
Okay.
It's a thing.
It's still a thing? Okay.
It has a lot to do with how you care for the beer.
Okay. Well, I mean, in the back of the Miata, not being
and then
transferred
to he has these because he got the truck. He got the I think it's a Toyota truck.
Yeah, it's a Taco. It's a Tacoma.
Yeah, and it's got these little, it's like utility saddlebags.
Yeah. It's like a little mini tool case in the bed of the truck, like built in. Yeah. If you've seen some of the recent truck advertisements on the TVs, because you add an S to the end of everything. You'll know what we're talking about. But they're the little mini storage compartments in the back of his Tacoma, and he was like, "Dude, we've got to drink these.
Got to drink them."
So they took advantage of the fact that Beth was not there this week, which we always myth Beth.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
We always miss Beth when she is not on Shift Beers, because she really does. She both reins them in and keeps them under control, but she also gives them the really bad ideas and lets them run with it. It's incredible that dual role that she holds with the Shift Beers team.
She's definitely an instigator in a good and bad way. And then also she brings the burps.
She really does. Although I will say, without spoiling the end of the episode, they did a pretty good job this week.
Nice.
it was very nice. A few of them, I have to admit, I almost had to stop the podcast because it was making me a little nauseous near the end there. I'm like,
towards the end, they were getting a little gurgly.
Oh, like they sounded
like they had Mexican food and something was about to happen.
It was not good, but good.
But they gave you a disclaimer at the front of the show.
They did. They really did. They called us out. They're like, "Yo, Joya and Margot, come on."
Right.
So it's okay. You know, we have a job to do. Whatever they want to bring or not bring.
Speaking of disclaimer, they did talk about how Chris ran like 3 sets of guests out of BC's Bottle Lodge for his humor when he got on the live show. But it's not all his fault, right? No. Because it was kind of early. And I made a joke about the gnome assisting his children, and there were 2 ladies. I will say there were 2 ladies and a young girl here, and I saw one of the ladies who's a regular here. Saw one of the ladies like turning, like her eyes lit up, like, oh, we didn't give any disclaimer. We didn't give any disclaimer about the show. We don't have posters or anything.
No one knew what was happening.
Nobody knew when they walked in. Nobody knew what was happening. There was a couple on a date here.
The 2 ladies had a child with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our apologies to anyone that
I'm sorry, but I'm not going
to
apologize.
No.
I mean, you're in a bar.
So full disclaimer, since you mentioned that, I did cut those out of the show, out of the live show, just because I didn't feel that they added anything to it. And if you really want to hear Chris's joke, and if you really want to hear what Gnome's childcare tips, I will send you those clips individually. They will not make a bonus episode. Well, I mean, maybe eventually I'll do one of those, like, Truth Beer Pod After Dark clips to where it's stuff
I didn't think about it because, I mean, like I said, you're at a bar. I mean, let's go.
And honestly, all things considered, they weren't that extreme, but they just didn't fit with what I wanted to put out. So I made the judgment call of cutting a few things.
Yeah. So it's all good.
It's fine. It's our show.
It's your judgment. It's fine.
So according to Jangle, the gnome is now part of our show. When he was talking about all the different, podcasters that were here, he was gnarly gnome of Truth Beer. Wait a minute, that's not his show. So he is now an official member of the Truth Beer Pod family, and he is not here tonight. What the hell?
Maybe we'll call him.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe not.
Yeah. He might be feeding his children.
Right.
No one's I cut it out. No one's going to, amongst other things. So, no, that sounded.
Right.
That sounded as
brand
bad
there, Julia.
as those jokes that I cut out.
That was the joke, Julia.
It really was. They talked about carbonated hard gravy.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to say to that, because that was certainly an aspect of drinking that I was not expecting. So you need to listen to Shift Beers to figure out exactly what... I mean, it is what it sounds like, but there was so much more to how that came up that I would like you guys to listen to Shift Beers, episode 71, to figure out why I'm saying the words carbonated hard gravy combined in sentence form, because you really don't... You
Let me put it this way. Think about what you think in worse terms that would mean. It probably means that.
It probably means that, yeah.
Probably means that.
If you listen to us, you probably already listened to Shift Beer, so you can probably picture exactly where that one is going.
Right.
So speaking of exactly where that's going, Josh called me out for trying to keep him safe during the live show.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so...
You were being a mom at that moment.
I was just looking out for my friends. We had all had beers at that point.
No, you're absolutely right.
And I was just like, hey, if you're driving home, please don't chug that 13% barrel-aged stout with a freaking block in it.
Right. And
because I want you to get him. And he just went, fuck you, I do what I want. And he chugged the damn thing, which, I mean, he made it. He obviously made it okay.
# don't worry about it.
I'm sorry that I care, Jangle.
Right.
I am sorry that I care. Okay? But no,
well, it's also for dramatic or comedic effect either way. But yeah, I mean.
Oh man! So Ashley,
when we do Podcast Palooza, we're gonna need DDs.
Lots of Ubers, yes,
Ubers or DDs.
yes. So Ashley, if you listen, I don't know if you do or not. I tried. So however he showed up home that night, we tried.
Just all depends on where he stopped for
food.
For food. what the effect was, but they did go into and talk about experiences.
So there were a lot of stories in this episode.
A lot of stories.
There's also a lot of new break music sound clip buttons.
Oh yeah, and if they ever get on YouTube, I don't know if that's allowed.
That might get flagged.
Yeah,
potentially. Which really, as I have found from uploading our stuff. The only thing that really means is if they decide to monetize, if they get enough subscribers, followers, that kind of stuff, enough like listened or watched hours, however that algorithm works, to monetize those specific episodes, they cannot get any money from. So it may or may not be a big deal, but I did like the new break music, and I'm trying to keep talking because Marcus is about to sneeze.
I'm about to sneeze.
He's making really funny faces, so I'm trying to keep going.
It's a minute and a half. I've been trying to sneeze, and it's just not happening. So let's just go with it. No, but you're right. I mean, I don't think they're they're not concerned with making money.
No, definitely not. I mean,
even though they have a Patreon and put out specific content for that Patreon.
Yes, which, like I said in the live show, so I feel like it's almost, that Spider-Man meme where they're like two Spider-Men pointing at each other.
Yeah.
I feel like that's me and Django with like our supporter page and their Patreon page. Like we each just keep handing each other $10 every month. Like, hey, here's your $10. Okay, here's your $10.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually do anything. It just keeps rotating.
Well, between the two of you,
month.
But I mean, we have Mitch and your mom. And then we have Brandon J. And then,
your sister, Victoria. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't tell people that was my sister.
Oh, my bad. I'll cut that if you want. We have...
That was my sister. So a lot of family support here on Truth Beer Pod.
Yes. So
our Christmas gift is going to be them just paying for a few beers, and I send them. I send them an equal amount of money for them and their kids.
Oh man. But yeah, it's we may bring in more money than they do as far as supporters go. Just saying.
It's possible.
Not that it's a competition. Because
they just bought a bunch of mics with a bunch of
Did they even get new mics or just
springs
the boom arms?
And shit?
Yeah. So because we're not a mobile podcast, but because we are not in a dedicated like our own location, like our own offices. Not possible for us. I mean, we could, but I think Kenny would get really mad as we scratch up the tables with this stuff.
That's like over the top overkill.
It is. Unless you have like a studio space, a dedicated, like what Gnome has. I mean, I appreciate that they were transparent with what they were doing with the Patreon bucks.
Yeah.
But I feel like their money could have been spent better elsewhere, such as coming up, like actually paying someone to come up with drag names for all of them instead of leaving that to Marco and I.
Wasn't it Brian who went to visit his sister and then they went to a drag show? Is that what happened? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, I mean, because the place that they don't work at has multiple brands.
Right.
And one of their brands has a drag brunch. Is it every Sunday?
Sundays? I believe so. On Woodburn? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
do we talk about where they work or don't work?
Well,
I don't know.
Let's
work. I don't know. Sorry, my bad. Got a little Rihanna on.
You good?
I'm good.
You want to do it again?
No.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay. So they do a drag brunch. Is it every Sunday?
I believe it's every Sunday, yeah.
Have you been?
I have not yet. I
have
want
not
to.
yet either. I would like to go.
Yes. Well, let's coordinate schedules. Find
we're
a Sunday
very
brunch.
good at this.
We are
very, very good at it. We're going to coordinate. We're going to go with the Shift Beers crew. But they did pose the question.
Yes.
Hey, what would your drag name be?
Yes.
To each of the, so you got Josh, Brian, Chris. And of course, Beth wasn't there, but
Right.
Josh.
So I only thought of things for the three.
Okay. Oh, you
The
have
three
some?
that I do actually. My drag name for Brian is still in the works. I'm not happy. I couldn't come up with anything good, so this was my Josh's suggestion, which I like.
I have
but
one. I
think-
don't love it though.
Okay, same.
For
so
Brian.
For Brian,
For
yes,
Brian, yeah.
yes. I kind of really like my two for Josh and Chris. So what the drag name is for Brian is Push Me Buttons. It's aight.
Okay.
It's
All right.
but it's not really there. What did you have for?
I mean, if he was
For
wearing
Brian.
a feather boa, I'd get into it. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Brian cream pie.
Ooh, okay.
A little twist on the Boston cream pie.
Yes.
Brian cream pie.
All right. Because you can't have Brian the drag star as they discussed
Right.
on the
Or
episode.
Brian the drag queen.
What did you have for Jangle?
Django food cake.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
I went down the Coney Road that he sometimes takes.
The gravy. Follow the gravy
Follow
trail.
the gravy to oh, man. So Josh's drag name is Sky, Skye, because Skyliner is what I had for him.
Okay.
Because, Skyline Conies, Skyliner, eyeliner, Skyline Conies.
Okay.
It's there. And Chris. What did you come up with for
Chris
him?
P. Cream.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. So mine tied back to a joke that he made both on our live show and that he recapped earlier in the Drinkin' segment. For Chris, I picked his drag name as Anita Goza. As Marco almost spits his rally cap onto the soundboard and the mics. Anita Goza.
That's great.
Yeah. Still need to work on Brian's. I know that we can do better for Brian's.
Yeah,
But
I
I think that
there's
between the two of us, Jangle and Chris,
Yeah, I mean, we can
we've
all
got
figure
that.
it out. And we can
Yes.
all figure it out. That was
Yes. Oh man! So they talked for a while about TV shows. What are you watching? What have you been doing? Jangle and I, we are Curse of Oak Island like siblings. Like we are both into that. I told my Josh I need to get back into it. I'm like a season and a half behind. He goes, "Why on earth would you watch
Who
that
the
show?"
hell is eating tacos here? Like, there's been like a taco smell for like an hour.
I think it's the people sitting behind you. 'Cause
Okay.
They have foil on the table, so I'm assuming that's like the wrapped
In
taco.
aluminum foil.
But yes, Curse of Oak Island. I mean, that show is a Bobby Dazzler. It's ridiculous. They never find
A
anything.
Bobby Dazzler?
Yes.
What the?
So
Is that a term, an expression?
It is.
A Bobby Dazzler?
Yes. So you have Greg and Marty Lagina. I think it's Lagina, but we like
Lagina.
to exactly. And they're digging holes all over this island in Nova Scotia to try to find a buried treasure that may or may not exist. They get someone who is a professional treasure hunter named Gary Drayton.
Are we doing this?
We are doing this.
Oh, Jesus.
Because it's part of the Shift Beers recap.
Okay,
They talked
all right,
about Curse
all
of
right.
Oak Island.
Yeah.
And it's something that I have a stupid obsession with because it is like the worst
Okay.
reality show outside of the Kardashians or whatever that one.
Oh, I never watched that.
No, I just know it's out there and it exists in the world for some stupid ass reason. So Curse of Oak Island is
They can make
leagues
millions off
better
of
than
that bullshit.
Oh my God, I'm telling you.
We're over here spending our
Hard-earned money on.
hard-earned money on,
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah. But anyway, they talked about TV shows, and Josh and I, Jangle and I mean, Curse of Oak Island, it's a thing. It's a real thing. It is.
Well, I mean, it didn't come up on the show, but Chris and I listened to the Dan Le Batard show.
You guys do.
We do.
There were
And
a lot of inside jokes that you guys make that
We do.
you had to explain to me. And,
We do.
And I apologize for that.
No, or you could just get on the
Just-
train, get on the party train.
I'll make
They came
that
out-
a poll question.
They came out with a musical last week, which was
Yeah.
of course, nobody on the show is a musical artist. Everyone is just
people.
But they did hook up with a Grammy-nominated artist to help them produce this musical, and they put out a musical. So.
I will say, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I just want to say to everyone that's listening to this episode, you are welcome for us putting out a show this week, because between the Le Batard musical that you were listening to, and a band that I have recently become obsessed with, Ghost, they put out a new album. I texted Marco and I said, we have to cancel the show. I mean, I need to listen to this on repeat over and over. I don't have time to listen to anything else.
Yeah, it was...
So...
For the first time, even with, some things that, even when, I wasn't feeling all that great and all that, I mean, for the first time, the Truth Beer and Pod was actually in jeopardy of not happening.
Right.
Just because of other stuff going on in our lives.
And not even like important family stuff, just things that we wanted to listen to on repeat that we felt was more important than listening to the podcast.
And we weren't going to be able to cover, going to be able to listen to or cover the shows.
No, not at all. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
That we sacrificed our time for obsessively re-listening to the same shit over and over. Instead, we took a break from that and listen to the podcast that came out this week.
I can feel the love, Julia.
Yeah.
The podcast isn't even out yet, and I know the appreciation is going to be there. It's like people are going to have signs out in front of BC's Bottle Lodge.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Marco and Julia. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Julia.
So
put it on the poll, Julia.
I'll make it a poll question.
Is anyone going to... signs at BC's Bottle Lodge for Truth Beer Pod, yes, no?
Yes or no? So, speaking of stories, like, what we just told, it was drunk story time at Shift Beers.
Yeah, they did that.
They definitely talked about a whole bunch of drunk stories. Some we've heard before, some we have not.
Most we've heard before.
The one about the Fiat, that one we have not heard before.
The Volkswagen?
The Fiat.
I thought it was a Volkswagen.
I'm trying to make this up to make people go.
Okay.
Did we say Fiat when we meant Volkswagen? Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, you are correct in the story that you're thinking of, that I'm also thinking of.
Gotcha.
That once you guys listen to this episode and hear that story, so many things make so much more sense about that group of guys.
Yeah, I mean, they're a bunch of wild and crazy guys. I mean, they've done some things in their lives.
Yes.
I just want to say
some beer influenced things.
Yes.
So there were some really good stories. So if you have not listened to every episode of Shift Beers, listen to this episode and you will get some of those really good stories.
They should put out some shirts that say, like, on the front, like, I need bread, and on the back just at Shift Beers.
That would be pretty damn good. They called Beth.
They did.
They called Beth.
They tried to trick Beth.
She knows
she's
them.
too smart for them.
She's just like, no. Not buying it.
Yeah. She's too smart for them.
She's amazing.
She definitely proved in that call that number one, she loves them, and number two, she knows them. So
very much so. Very much so. So hopefully next week she's able to make it back on the show, because we definitely miss her participation.
Yeah. It would have been great if we could have got her on our show.
Oh my God. Her and I, can you imagine, like, up there live, like her and I trying to wrangle the cats that was everybody else up there, like, no, do not put a block in there. Oh my God, you put a block in. No, you're not drinking the whole thing. It would have been.
Or no, you're not passing it around to everybody so that they can all take sips.
Yeah.
Like, it all sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, although I am happy to say that even after the whole passing around.
Yeah, I think we're past the quarantine or what is it? The
incubation period.
Incubation period, yeah.
I am still COVID negative. I am tested weekly for work. I'm still good. So you're welcome, y'all.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's still good. Matt Damaris is out in, I think,
he's in Cancun. Yeah.
Cancun.
I actually messaged him with a business proposal, and he's just like, I'm in Cancun. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hope they have so
You
much
messaged
fun.
him with a business proposal?
He's a realtor. My mom's starting to look into selling her house. So
okay.
I messaged him about that, and he was like, oh, we just landed in Cancun. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your vacation.
5
I
days,
didn't
7
know.
days? How long is he gone?
He said that the week after this week, so next week, he should be back and can reach out to her. So they'll be down there for about a week. But
That'd be awesome.
man,
all
props to
inclusive, I
them.
hope.
No idea, but he sent me a picture of the family out there, and they look so happy. It is
That's
such a beautiful
awesome.
family. He is awesome. And I think it was Brian who said that he never really got to hang out with Matt until that night. And just, he is such a good dude. Like, he is such a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. Just a good dude, friend, right? And I say this often, but it's because it's true. Not just friend of the show, friend of ours.
Hands down. Hands down.
Yeah. So, yes, they mentioned that. That came up in Shift Beers.
Mm-hmm. It did. It did.
What else do you have as far as notes before we get into, the
best part of our recap of
Yes,
Shift Beers. The
correct.
only other thing that I had written down is they tried to turn Shift Beers into a sports show near the end.
and then a travel show.
And then a travel show. So they were
like
trying to take a page
auditioning
out
for
of,
I don't know, what is it, like the Travel Channel or something.
Yeah, like world's sexiest beaches, and they were trying to give their pitches for like destinations, and it was
Like Anthony Foudane, like their show.
It's-
I
mean, they did an alright job. I mean, they could have
Oh
convinced
no, it was
me
fun.
after
It was fun
a
and
few
interesting.
minutes.
It's
Yeah,
like
it really
I mean,
was.
we take those tangents too on
Sure.
our show, and then
Sure.
sometimes we take those tangents and put them out on the side, like air
little
fry
bonus-
tips or whatever it is.
Right, right.
But yeah, they went ahead and did a little bit of a travel show and drink show and all
Mm-hmm. and
that.
they did the sports thing, which I've written down that they were trying to take a page out of Sonder Stories' book,
Yeah,
and
sports
take a page
show.
from Danny
Yeah.
and make Shift Beers into a sports show with a drinking problem. But that's Newbert Report.
Yeah.
If you want a sports show with a drinking problem, Newbert Report is already out there. Yes, that is mostly Canada, mostly if not all Canada, instead of U.S. and Cincinnati stuff. But they tried.
Yeah.
They gave the sports ball a very strong argument for why it needed to be on their show.
It was hilarious, actually.
Well, yeah.
It was really funny because Chris was trying to stand up for probably the third or fourth most popular sport in America, and Brian
And
was like,
everyone else
"No."
was like, "No, that's
Brian was
not."
like, "Nah, nah, it's not.
Nope.
It's not real." And then he gave a retort, and Brian's like, "Nah, you're wrong," and he was totally wrong.
Yeah, pretty much.
So.
But yeah, that's all that I had outside of our favorite part of the recap,
So
which is
what we're going into now is, of course, the burp count. And
Yes.
what we do, I mean, there's one podcast that we listen to that we have weekly, a drinking game, essentially, is what it is. All drink responsibly, please. The drinking game it's pretty simple. You listen to Shift Beers, you listen along to Shift Beers, you drink every time you hear a burp. And based off of an average of 2 ounces per drink,
Yes.
we will give you, number 1, the number of burps, number 2, the number of ounces, and number 3, the number of pints that you would have had to have consumed while you're playing the drinking game with
Right.
Shift Beers.
Right.
So, Julia, give it to us. Give us the results, the goods.
all right. So the first thing that I want to say about this is we heard the pre-burp.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, we
Ooh.
heard the pre-burp.
Oh my God.
I thought that there was going to be more to it after the burp. I was
Right.
nervous.
I was scared
That is a sound.
they were going to need wicker baskets.
straw hats. Yeah,
Straw hats,
it's-
wicker baskets.
Which that is one of those things. Like I have a fairly strong stomach for most things, but going beyond the burp, when the burp has liquid behind it and you can hear that's where I'm like, I don't know that I can continue listening to the show if there's a chance that there's going to be projectiles involved. Luckily that didn't happen.
Yeah.
However, they hit a golden milestone this episode.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
Did they do it?
They did it. So the previous record for the burp count was episode 67, where they had, I think that was was that their last seltzer episode? No, it was not. I don't have
The
written
Brian
down
Setzer Orchestra.
the Brian Setzer Orchestra.
The Brian Seltzer Orchestra.
Episode 67, they had 80 burps.
Oh, nice.
This is a number that actually came up. They didn't hit it, but this is one that came up before we started being accurate with the burp count. So this is going back at the beginning of us. Exactly. The number of burps in episode 71 of Shift Beers, Boys and Banquets, is 69. Nice.
Nice.
So 69 burp, and it was the last 2 minutes of the show. I'm going, holy shit, guys! Don't burp, please don't ruin this. Do not do it. And they didn't. They held firm at 6. And in case anyone's asking, the pre-burp does not count.
No, it was
a singular burp because it was all leading up to one thing. But 69 burps. That is 138 ounces of liquid, which breaks down to 8.625 pints.
Holy hell.
Of whatever beverage you choose to play the burp game with.
Hell yeah.
So yes, it wasn't their highest number, but it was the number.
That was...
You guys...
Wow.
Got it. I was so excited for you. I even have written down in my notebook of notes, oh shit, they did it.
Yeah, you did. Oh,
I
shit,
sent
you
Marco
did
a
it.
picture.
Oh shit, you did it. Congratulations,
Congratulations, guys. You rocked it. As always,
excellent work.
Super fun episode.
Very fun.
I definitely think you are correct that after we wrap up the show, we need to get a banquet in honor of not just Shift Beers, but all the podcasts for this week.
Yeah, let's do it.
But that's all that I had on Shift Beers. How about you?
I'm good, Julia.
Right.
I'm ready to, with the week that we've had and with the things that we were listening to and the way we had to crunch to get this in, I'm really happy with how we came together to put this out. I hope everybody enjoys the content.
Agreed.
You know what? It was a different type of week leading into this. We did have the time change as well, so I felt like I lost an entire day, not just 1 hour. But
and you know what I feel about losing an entire hour of sleep?
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lee knows.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. And Julia, I know this week was tough, but this coming week, what are you going to be doing?
I think I'm going to be continuing to have the new Ghost album on repeat over and over until we get some new episodes of our favorite Cincinnati Craft Beer podcast. Then I'm going to be listening to them and meeting up with you on Tuesday at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, and we're going to talk about them.
Let's do it, Julia.
Let's do it. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.